Inter lifted the trophy for their first Scudetto since 2010, the first piece of silverware in general in a decade, this past weekend. And yet, just 3 days later, they announced that Antonio Conte would be leaving. Hey, I'm Adrian and welcome to Rabona TV. It's been a mad week in the football world, but today it's all about Inter. Why Conte left, the financial problems Inter have, the potential player sales, how they got into this position, and who their next manager will be. And backed by popular demand, a man who knows all when it comes to Inter, Uncle Sharma will join me to explain the context around all of the crazy news coming out of the Inter camp. And hey, if you find yourself enjoying the content during this video, be sure to subscribe. Other than that, let's go. Chinese holding company Suning took over Inter Milan in 2016, with their takeover bid reaching a reported 270 million euros after buying around 70% of the club. After a few seasons of trying to figure things out with Spalletti, we began to see Inter really start to invest in the squad once it had been confirmed that Antonio Conte was taking over as the manager. However, Conte has had to fight tooth and nail at times, it seems, for his signings, with rumors of him leaving prior to the 2020-21 season prevalent, but he ultimately got the players he wanted. But this season, questions surrounding the financial security of the club came into question, with Suning certainly struggling back in China, even closing their formerly successful Chinese Super League team, Jiangsu Suning, who were league champions in 2020. So, what has contributed to their financial losses? It became apparent this season, basically, that Suning's, their stock prices were dropping a bit, but I understand that there are some other factors that was affecting why they've been hurting so much in the last year or so. So what exactly has happened with them?
Well, one of the big catalysts for these issues, I think, is the Chinese government imposed restrictions on exporting, capitals out of China. So since the pandemic and since the, Chinese football, I remember a few years ago, they were buying players left, right and center, paying them astronomical wages. Graziano Pelle, Oscar, all these guys were going out to China because, they were earning triple the amount they would be earning in Europe. But now China have kind of done a U-turn on football, and football comes under as a luxury good. So any exports relating to, luxury goods in China have been pretty much, put a stop to. And, so Suning have been having trouble bringing over the capital to Inter. So that's been one of the initial issues over the last year or so. And then the other issue is the fact that, Suning themselves, their actual main company, Suning Holdings, have been hit by the pandemic more than other companies. So they've been struggling financially in general as well. Inter, obviously, the revenues in Serie A are low as they are compared to, other leagues already. And, San Siro being closed down and, not having any crowds, that's Beppe Marotta said that's had a 70 million impact to Inter's finances. So yeah, there's been a variety of factors that really led to this situation, to be honest.
So all of these factors that you've mentioned have brought us to the place where we are now, where basically, there are these talks of how that you're going to be forced into selling players, that you need to raise about 80 million euro. That's sort of the number that's been thrown around a lot. Wage reductions have been spoken of. So what's going on here? Do you think that a lot of these players, like the Hakimis and the Lautaros of the Inter squad, are going to be on their way out?
Well, Beppe Marotta, the CEO, kind of confirmed that there was some, I don't know if you saw, some Inter ultras managed to go into the Inter HQ yesterday and actually speak with Marotta and Ausilio, the sporting director, asking for answers, because they saw the news, they saw Conte leaving, and they were demanding answers. And Beppe Marotta told them that yes, there's going to be some sacrifices made, but there won't be a squad overhaul. That's one of the guarantees that they give to the Curva Nord ultras. So hoping that yes, there won't be too many players. I think one big player, or maybe two players, may need to be sold to make. I'm not sure if that 80 million figure is the exact figure, but around that figure, probably just to help in the cash flow situation. But the wage cuts are definitely going to be coming. I think that's not just for Inter. I think you will see around Europe, definitely 15 to 20% is what Inter are going to be making in terms of wage cuts, and I think other European teams will have to follow if things are going to be the way as they are right now.
To help offset the financial burden that Suning was taking on thanks to their falling stock price, the impact of COVID, and the luxury tax that Sharma mentioned, they began shopping Inter around to potential investors, and the Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund entered the ring. This was the same investment fund that was oh so close to purchasing Newcastle United from Mike Ashley, and it was rumored that they offered Suning around €375 million to help refinance their debt. The details of why the deal ultimately fell through are unclear, given the financial misfortune that had befallen Inter, but with that in mind, do you think that they did all that they could to prevent this situation, or was it a little bit of negligence from them, or did they go all in on the Super League and then that bet failed?
Yeah, it seems like, that whatever that figure was, the Super League, they said the participants would be receiving 250 million, and funnily enough, the loan that Inter just took out with Oaktree is around that figure. So it does seem like they were kind of betting on this Super League kind of actually happening. In terms of selling their stake, I think they were serious about that as well, because they were clearly put the word out. There was a few companies interested, according to Bloomberg, because of how Suning actually sponsor Inter's training ground. A lot of the sponsors are actually China-based. And the companies like BC Partners and that Mubadala, the Saudi Arabian equity firm that you mentioned, they took a step back, or they valued Inter below what Suning valued it because of those Chinese sponsorships. Because when Suning leave, they think those Chinese sponsors will leave. So obviously Suning won't continue to sponsor the Inter training ground, which is around 15 million per season, and other closely related companies to Suning seem to be involved in a lot of the sponsorship. So they're afraid of these revenues that Inter have shown, that Suning have improved the revenues of Inter, but a lot of them you could say might be fictitious, or I don't know if that's the correct word, but a little bit shady.
Now, Inter did apparently surface for some air just a few days ago, actually on May 19th, 2021, in getting some financial support via Oaktree Capital Group. Now, this hasn't been officially announced, but apparently Oaktree have pledged €275 million, and in return will get a 31% stake that was formerly held by Lion Rock Capital, as well as a place on the club's board, according to a Reuters article I've linked below. Apparently, the money from Oaktree is a loan that Suning will have to pay back, their shares being collateral in the deal, and the loan cannot be used for player transfers. So, the head of the aforementioned club board is Steven Zhang, the son of Suning founder Zhang Jingdong, and the current president and chairman of Inter Milan. He didn't become the chairman immediately after Suning purchased Inter, only beginning to have more of a say in the running of the club in October of 2018. Would you say that you being a representative of all Inter supporters, of course, have been satisfied with what Suning have done with the club in general, in particular Steven Zhang's running of the club? Or would you be happy to sort of see him out the door after what's happened lately?
Honestly, in general, I've been happy with Suning in terms of, the decisions that they needed to make in terms of the directors, the leadership of the club. So appointing Beppe Marotta, who I believe is the best in the business, especially when it comes to Italian football. He's the best, CEO, director of football, whatever you want to call. Keeping Piero Ausilio, who's been the sporting director there for a while. Bringing in Antonio Conte, convincing Antonio Conte with the salary, with the project, giving him Lukaku, Hakimi, whoever he needed. They gave him everything pretty much he wanted. That backroom staff giving him everything he wanted. So in terms of that, I've been very happy with Suning. They've made some mistakes here and there, like at the beginning when they signed João Mario and Gabigol. I think they listened to their advisors there too much. But those are teething problems that they got past because they were new in football. And you can forgive them for that. But the thing with Suning, the main problem I have with them is their communication strategy, or their style of communication. So they don't communicate right until something is completely done, or until they kind of have to. So, Steven Zhang was obviously, due to the pandemic, he couldn't come to Milan for months and months this past season. But there was like zero communication from Steven Zhang, apart from, posting Instagram posts or liking Instagram posts when Inter are doing well. There was almost zero, press releases. It pretty much seemed like Beppe Marotta was the president for most of this season. So that's definitely one thing I would definitely, say that I'm not happy with Suning. And going forward, I hope they improve that.
It is the history of Antonio Conte to throw a fit and leave, as he did with Juventus back in the day, as he did with Chelsea, and to some extent as he did with the Italian national team. Last summer, it seemed as if he would do the same at Inter, as he needed assurances on transfers before he committed to staying with Inter. Like clockwork, though aided by the financial burden that Suning is carrying, Conte was on his way out of Inter following the delivery of their first title in just over a decade. How do you feel about Conte now? How do you feel, because they obviously, they failed to get him to stay, or they failed to sort of provide the right surroundings and the assurances that he needed in order to stay. So do you view Conte as shying away from a challenge, or do you think that his decision is justified?
I think, yeah, and you'll see most Inter fans online, I've seen, I think everyone's saying that Conte's decision to leave this time round is justified. It's not like the previous times when he's kind of put up a hissy fit, like a Juventus, they didn't buy him. I think it was Manuel Iturbe or Cuadrado, and he left Juve in midway to the pre-season, and Chelsea, how it went there with Marina and all that kind of stuff that was going on. This time, he's delivered what he was asked to deliver. He was already talking about, he wants to keep the core of this team at least, and Inter couldn't promise him that, so I can't blame him. He's built this team in the last 2 years to his image, to the players that he wants, and he wants to continue challenging for the Scudetto, to do better in Europe. And if Suning is saying we need to make cutbacks or sell important key players, honestly, I don't blame him. But also, I'm not surprised. This is typical Conte. He's just so, he's obsessed with winning. As Marotta said today, he's almost neurotic about winning, but almost to a fault. I was hoping that he would understand the situation, the pandemic, the need to cut costs, and maybe he's only got 1 year left on his contract, and I thought maybe he could, adapt himself for one season. But yeah, there seems like there's no midway, there's no halfway point with Conte. It's either 0 or 100.
So right after filming with Uncle Sharma, Fabrizio Romano said the haloed words surrounding Inzaghi to Inter. Here we go, confirmed. On top of that, Lazio released a very short and quite icy statement that said, quote, "We respect the change of heart of a coach and, before that, a player who for a long time attached his name to the Lazio family and to lots of Biancocelesti success." That's it. That's all they said. They didn't even use his name. So, how do you feel about him coming in? Do you think that he will be a fit at Inter based on what you've seen from him at Lazio?
Yeah, first of all, I think after Conte, then it was Allegri. Those were the two choices. After that, everyone after that is a step down. But after Conte and Allegri, Inzaghi was my choice. He plays the exact same formation at Lazio, 3-5-2, so there wouldn't be any need for adaptation in terms of the team and the squad. He can build around that. He plays a similar kind of counter-attacking, counter-pressing type of football. He's used to managing big-ish personalities, you could say, Milinkovic-Savic, Luis Alberto, Immobile, in the Serie A sphere, they're quite big players, but obviously maybe not on the international level. In terms of wages, he's not too expensive. He's hungry for success. He's done well at Lazio. He's won trophies at Lazio. He's won a Supercoppa, Coppa Italia. So, he's much better than his brother as a coach, definitely. So, yeah.
Do you foresee any signings happening this summer? And if you do, are they just going to be more of those, loan with the option to buy next season type of thing?
Yeah, honestly, I've told people that follow my channel to keep their expectations low, to be honest, for this upcoming summer, because if we are going to have to sell, to make up those types of figures, 80 million or whatever has been reported, I don't really see incomings. But it's going to have to be one of those Beppe Marotta masterclasses of free transfers, loan with options, pulling out something out of the bag, to be honest, or try to go with a little bit more youth maybe.
And taking that into consideration and, how all of your rivals are doing and what sort of state they're in at the moment, do you think that, let's say you only lose one of your big stars, do you think that this club still has what it takes to win the Scudetto next season as well?
I don't know about Scudetto, to be honest. I would have to wait until the transfer market is done to see what we've done in and out. But yeah, if we lose only one player, this team was already, I know Conte improved, he improves a lot of average players, like the Gagliardinis and the Darmians of this world. But this squad is ready, especially mentality has changed now. A lot of the players, if you saw in the posts today when they said goodbye to Conte, they said, you changed my mentality. A lot of them said similar things. You raised my level. So I think, some of these players are really improved for the long term. So I'm not expecting to, to not be challenging for the Scudetto. I'm not saying I expect us to win it, but if we only lose 1 or 2 players, I'd still expect us to be able to challenge.
Yeah, you don't think you're falling right back into the banter era right away?
No, please. No more Jonathans and Ricky Alvarez's, please.
Biabiani and stuff. This has got to be a very frustrating time. Success comes, and the manager leaves, and promises of some sacrifices amongst the playing squad. I mean, it's just unfortunate. Again, thanks to Uncle Sharma for helping me out with this video. Be sure to go and check out his channel, which I've linked below. Other than that, I thank you for watching this video, and we'll hopefully see you in the next one. Ciao.